How's it going, my friends, and welcome back to Solid Scale Models and my little Warhammer series. So, yes, I'm afraid it is another Space Marine we are doing in this one. I will promise you the next one will not be a Space Marine. I do have one other Space Marine figure to do, so I'm going to leave him for a little bit later on. I have got another couple on order, so we can spice things up a little bit. But if you guys have got anything that you'd like to see me do, please put them in the comment section below. I'll have a look at them and see what I can do. So, on to this one, we are looking at the banner bearer. So, what I wanted to do with this one was kind of like having kind of like quite ornate looking and, you know, really sort of all shiny and sparkly and, you know, something like that. Because I was kind of thinking of like old, you know, old-fashioned sort of type standard bearers. You know, we see them in pictures and that. You know, particularly like what I was sort of more thinking of was kind of like Roman standard bearers. So everything's all like, you know, really nice and, you know, flashy and or whatever you want to call it. So I was kind of thinking of doing something similar to this for this one. Changed quite quickly, which I will get to in this video. So yeah, so we'll get straight into it. So grab yourself a brew and a bicky, and I'll see you in a minute. So when I thought of this guy, I was thinking sort of like flag bearer. You know, so they're usually sort of, you know, forefront, you know, and, you know, kind of thinking of Roman times. So, you know, they're all like the dogs and, you know, are looking, you know, pretty good and immaculate. So I went for this sort of metallic blue colour to start with. This was very quickly forgotten about because it just looked cheap and toy-y. So I went a bit sort of plainer. So I thought I got a new red and I thought I'd try it out. Actually turns out the red was a lot darker than I planned. So, you know, so I went for this red colour. Again, no particular reason why. But actually, you know, it was a nice red. I was quite happy with it. So, the same as always, started off with a bit of chipping. Did all this by brush this time. So I just all the way through adding a little bit of white, so it kind of got like a bit more, you know, sort of pinky coloured, and just, you know, hitting all the areas that are most likely going to get scuffed. So obviously the sort of sharp edges of the armour, and I did a couple of little mini scratches in with inside that as well, just to, you know, give that worn looking effect, even though it was a complete opposite of what I was going for originally. But, you know, I thought it's one of these things you've got to do. These guys are all over the place, fighting wars and, you know, all over. So why not just keep up with that sort of battered, worn effect? And plus the fact it's just something I really enjoy doing anyway. So there's something a little bit slightly different to this. I decided to use a lead pencil to basically the impression of, you know, the scuffing that always kept or regularly occurs on certain areas. You know, it's gone past paint job, straight down to the bare metal, and these areas that kind of get, you know, knocked probably a bit more regular than others, and you sort of get this more of a polished metal underneath the paint job. So I thought that was something I'd you know, give a go. I've usually done it on sort of like armour stuff, but I think for this actually adds kind of a little bit more depth and a little bit more character to the paint job. Of course, this was all replicated the same on the helmet, although I was really chuffed with it and looked really good. This later on is going to come absolutely redundant, but we'll get to that a little bit later on in the video. So onto the cloth or the tunic or whatever he's supposed to be wearing there. I've gone relatively basic, again, complete opposite of what I wanted to initially do. This was Ammo's French blue. As a base coat, I added a little bit more black, so it darkened it quite down. And then, you know, reducing that amount of black, just keep adding that French blue in, and sort of adding on over the highlights. Realistically, I should have actually done this in a slightly thinner. I did plaster it on a little bit too heavy, but fortunately, it worked out okay. In the end, it did take a little bit of messing around, but realistically, I should have, you know, gone in with you know, lighter layers. You know, it's just one of those things. You live and learn, but unfortunately, this actually turned out quite well. So as we sort of get through the layers, we sort of start hitting more of the edges rather than the recesses, because these are the areas that we want to have more light, or give the effect of, you know, they're the areas they're getting hit in the light, and of course then recesses isn't actually getting any of that light. But again, as we get further towards the end, I'm kind of using the edge of the brush and doing a small amount of stippling. I did sort of try to do it as it gave a little bit of texture. Didn't quite work out that way, but it's, again, in the end, the overall effect for me, actually, you know, it turned out okay, and I was quite happy with it. So as we come towards the end of the process, I actually started to add a little bit of white into the colour, again, just to get those, you know, them highlights a little bit more pronounced. We'll deal with the recesses in that fabric a little bit later on with a little bit of wash. So with the standards, pretty much as we did with these tunic, pretty much was exactly the same process. I decided not to go full out all, you know, too much gold on the standard, so I decided to do the wings in more of a kind of a classic wing type colour, so that sort of, you know, that like a grey, and again with some highlights. The skeleton, exactly the same. I didn't want to, you know, I nearly did do it all gold, but again, it's just going to be, you know, that kind of a little bit samey, really, because, you know, a lot of these things generally end up being gold because they are kind of like them ornate type things. But again, just working up with a bone colour, and then just adding a little bit of white in there just to highlight all the edges of the bone. So there he is. He's pretty much ready to go. I was going to leave it here, but there was something else I really wanted to try with this figure, which again we will come on to a little bit later on. So next, what I decided to do is do more of a, sort of like a pin wash. I've used, again, Tamiya's accent panel line. I'm using a dark brown, and as you can see, I'm taking the vast majority off the brush, because this stuff is quite thin, and as you can see, as soon as you sort of touch it in them sort of inlet areas, it pretty much completely spreads on its own. If you do go a little bit too far, just use a little bit of white spirit, again dabbing most of it off onto a bit of kitchen roll, and then wipe it away. We also use this panel liner to sort of emphasise some shadows inside the tunic, and again in them recesses of the tunic is itself, like I said I was going to do earlier on. Particularly with the standard, this panel liner I feel really brings the whole thing out. It really makes it pop, particularly within the skeleton itself. It shows all them sort of deep crevices of the skeleton, and it also I did find it a little bit hard to be kind of a bit neat around the wings, but I actually felt it gave it a little bit of a filter, so it darkened it slightly enough. It kind of gave it, I feel it kind of gave it a little bit more depth into it, rather than just being looking a little bit flat. So there he is. That's him all finished and painted. Like I said, I was going to leave it here, but I wanted to try something very different, something I've been wanting to do for quite a while, and I've never done it or attempted to do it, and this was going to be the one. So this was a bit of a make or break. This could mean it turned out really well in one shot, or I'm going to have to completely repaint the model. What I wanted to do was make that halo as if it was actually emitting light, and that's what I wanted to try and do. I've never done it before. This could go completely wrong. This is also where I say that the painted helmet comes completely obsolete and pointless, because I wasn't quite sure on how this was actually going to work out. I also did the same through the standards one eye and his mouth. So I start off with a sort of a light misting of white, mainly particularly with the skeleton, right in the eye socket and the mouth, and just a little bit spreading out across onto the chest. You don't want to hit too much. You just want to. You need to look at it and figure out where the light is coming from and what it's going to hit, because of course it's going to go out in a straight direction. Now with the skeleton, I'm going to give the mouth and the eye a sort of a bit of a blue glow. So later on I'll come in again with the blue, slightly darker, and working our way up to a lighter blue, to attempt to give a source of light coming from the skeleton's head. So from the halo's point, I need to work from the top from this, because of course the light is going to be pretty much coming down because of the angle of the halo. There's also going to be a little bit hitting the top of his backpack, his left pauldron, and of course top of his right part of his hand, and also a little bit on the standard. So again, I've started off with a white as a bit of a kind of a base coat, and then with a yellow, and pretty much just keep repeating the same process, working on it very light layers, because again this can go wrong very quickly. As you can see, I have kind of sprayed back up a little bit there. That's because there was a bit of a casting of shadow from the halo. I kind of actually wanted that to be in there, but it just didn't look really good. So I painted it out, and then I added a kind of like an orangey sort of glaze colour as the top, to give you that sort of, you know, really bright emitting glow from that halo. And then with the yellow with a little bit of white, I edge highlighted all the edges that are relatively close to the halo's light. Again, just giving you that sort of, you know, those areas is still catching sort of the higher bit of light from that halo. So I kind of got this idea of having him on a bit of an elevated position, you know, standing over the battlefield, you know, showing support to his brothers in combat, and sort of, you know, give him the spirit to fight on. So I've got some of these slate pieces of stone from out of the garden. This one in particular was the one I quite liked, but there was a bit of a ridge at the bottom, and I managed to find another bit of slate in there to slot in, and that's going to be our base. So to attach them, I just use super glue, nice and simple, but use quite a lot of it to make sure, you know, the whole of it was going to definitely stick together, and all the touching points would get glue on them. So after priming the stones, I gave them a bit of a, you know, a slate grey paint job. I basically just dried the brush this so it'd leave some of the recesses in there black, and give you that sort of kind of like a natural sort of shading. But just to emphasise it all and sort of tone it down a little bit, we use some more of that dark brown panel liner. So I actually forgot to film the very last little detail I put in, was some small tufts of static grass in some of the crevices and recesses of that plinth. But if you stick around for a couple of seconds, you'll be able to see it all put together. So there we go, my friends. That's our standard bearer all done and dusted. I'm really proud of this one. It turned out way better than I actually thought it was going to turn out, particularly with that object source lighting. So it's something I've never done before, been very scared of doing, because of course if you cock it up, it means you've got to, you know, redo it all over again. But no, I was very chuffed with it. I hope you liked it as well. I'm not saying this is the right way of doing it, but you know, maybe it's something you guys can try out and hopefully learn from what I've done, and hopefully do a way better job than I did. So thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you have enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you like to see me do something else, something you guys like to see me try out, again, please put them in the comment section down below, and I will have a look at those. Again, if you have liked it and you're new around here, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. If you put bell notifications on, of course, that will tell you when the next video is up and available. If you'd also like to help support the channel and myself, there are links in the description down below. So again, thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope you have enjoyed, and I'll catch you again soon.